Hello, this is Sabre5934, and I'm here to discuss some Star Citizen ships. Now, as you may know, my channel's been a tad inactive for the past 6 months, but that's because I've been starting a new channel called Starbase15. I will be linking a description to that. I'll be linking the channel in the description. Now, today, I want to talk about some Star Citizen ships. More particularly, the fighters. Anyway, I'm going to be discussing the ships and what I imagine their major roles will be in-game. So first we have the Mustang Delta. The Mustang is one of my favourite ships. It's got a lovely style, it's got an interior, it's got sleeping quarters, I believe. And they're low-priced, with the Mustang Alpha, of course, being the same price as a Aurora. Hence why the Aurora is not on the list, since, in my opinion, the Mustang is a much better combat ship than the Aurora. And that's based on the hours I've spent flying them. Now, the Mustang Delta, let's go to its detail page. Mustang Delta, sorry, just forgot the name, has 2 Tier 2 thrusters for 13,000 mass. Now, that is exceptionally high at a Tier 2 thruster for 6,000 kilograms of mass. It's one of the lightest ships in the game. And with the maneuvering thrusters, the maneuverability capabilities of this ship are excellent. I mean, I'd say this ship is very close to a racer. Now, the guns. This gun, the Delta's primary weapons are fixed mount, which means this ship probably won't be for everyone, since fixed mounts can be hard to aim, and can be particularly hard, and fixed mounts have a hard time hitting the smaller ships, such as the Mustang. However, it's also sporting a unmanned turret, which is, I believe we have a picture here it is, under its nose, which allows for a bit of more accuracy. However, as you can see, the main guns are fixed, and the missiles are, well, missiles. There's a decent amount of missiles, with, I guess we don't have the amount of missiles here. Oh. Well, as we can see here, there appears to be quite a few missiles. I would say the ship's primary role would be fighting... I'd say it's more of a solo ship, so I doubt this would be used in fleets very often. It's a great support ship, however, I honestly can't see it engaging in large combat. Like large-scale combat, as it appears to me that the armament on the ship is way too light, and it's only sporting a size 2 shield, which, if we look at the ship specs page, is exceptionally weak, with ships such as the Hornet sporting a size 4. Now, I imagine the Mustang Delta will be a similar role to the Gladius, so, you know, light fighter. Possibly an escort, possibly an interceptor, but it definitely will not be getting into those large-scale fights with Hornets, since the weaponry on Hornets or ships such as the Gladiator just obliterate them easily. That's not to say a good Delta pilot couldn't fight a Hornet pilot, I'm just saying that it's unlikely they'll be able to take one on in standard combat, since the shields are lower, the power plant size is lower. The maneuverability is a lot higher, but the weapon loadout is considerably lower. Then we have the Gladius. Now, the Gladius is interesting. I'm really not a fan of the Gladius. I don't see how it's going to have much use in the persistent universe. And I'll explain to you why that is after we look at some of the stats here. Now, if you look at the stats compared to the Delta, it is a heavier ship with the same amount of thrust, both maneuvering thrusters and primary engines. It's also sporting a size 2 power plant, which was the same as the Delta. Now, this is where it gets a bit different. It is sporting the same size fixed mounts, but instead of a turret underwood, it has just got a gimbaled mount. Now, we don't know if that's going to be stronger or weaker yet, because stats are always open to change. However, that's where the big differentiation comes. It also has slightly larger missiles, with 2 sets of the size one the other ship has, the Delta. However, the ship appears to have a lot less missiles, with only 8, so that's 2 sets of 4. However, to make up for these disadvantages, it has a size larger shield. And this is where my opinion of the ship having no real purpose comes into play, because it's not as fast as the faster fighters. It's faster than the Hornet, but it's nowhere near as heavily armed as the Hornet. So when we look at ships such as the Delta, they've got more armaments and higher speed with just a slightly smaller shield. So I honestly can't see much purpose to the Gladius. I mean, I'm sure a good pilot can still make use of her, but as I said, I still don't see the position for it. The ship, in my opinion, is also overpriced at $90, but, you know, that's just opinions on price, and as we know, the pricing system in this game is not consistent. Now, where I think if this ship is used, where I think its role will be, well, again, I believe it's going to be an interceptor. Of course, it doesn't have the capability to go in the open large fights, and it's not as fast as the other ships, so I don't know, I always imagine that if a ship's doing escorting, it needs to be as fast or faster than the ship it is escorting, and then the ships that are intercepting it. And as there are a large amount of fighters which have a higher thrust-to-weight ratio compared to the Gladius, I can't see it being an effective escort, which leaves intercepting its only option. Now, because of its large missiles, it might have a good chance at interception, because if it can fire off its missiles before anyone realises it's attacking, it may be able to take down a ship or two. However, once the fight begins after the initial bombardment, I imagine he'll just get completely obliterated, because, well, he's a long ship, he's fast, but not as fast as some of the others, and he doesn't have the weaponry. Oh, I'm sorry, I just realised that it has a size 2 shield and not a size 3 shield. That's just an error on their, the ship specs page. So, again, that lowers its fighting capabilities even further, since it's got the same size shield as the Delta. And it has more mass, lower weapons, and, well, there's no real improvements. So as I say, I can't see a real use of the Gladius in the game. Anyway, on to the next ship. That is the 325A. Now, the 325A is one of my all-time favourites. They're beautiful, stylish, they have a really large thruster for a low mass count, and they are armed to the absolute teeth. Now, compared to the Gladius, this ship has a larger shield, larger missiles, larger gimbaled mount, and the same fixed weapons. It also has a large primary engine. Now, its maneuvering engines are probably not equal to that of ships like the Gladius and the Mustang. However, its primary engine allows it to move a lot faster, and been incredibly speedy, and it is absolutely armed to the teeth. Now, again, I'm saying I don't see this ship being mainly used in dogfights, because dogfights require the size 4 shield, which most of the larger dogfighters do have. However, I imagine this ship would be able to hold its own in a dogfight if it got the intercept off, because this ship has a large amount of pylon mounts and fixed mounts. So if it was able to get a good few shots off before it engaged in combat, it should be able to take on ships such as the Hornet. However, this ship is a lot faster than ships such as the Hornet. So, where it may miss a bit in combat capabilities, it makes up for that in the fact that it can engage and exit combat considerably faster than the majority of the dogfighters. I also feel I should point out that this ship has a small amount of cargo capacity. So if you're looking for a bit of more options in your fighter, I'd go with the 325A, because yes, it's got the ability to dogfight, albeit not as good as ships like the Hornet. It's got the ability to intercept, and it has got the ability to carry a bit of cargo. So if you're carrying high value goods, this ship is for you. Okay. Next, we've got the Hornet. Now, it's got a size 4 engine at 21,000 mass. So, this is the default Hornet, by the way. Has a large primary engine for 22,000 kilograms, but it's got tier 2 maneuvering thrusters. Now, every ship prior to this that we've looked at has tier 1 maneuvering thrusters. And yes, some of them have been lighter, but it's been tier 1 maneuvering thrusters. So this ship will be able to maneuver about in combat a lot better than the Mustang, the 325A, and the Gladius. And that's not its only advantage. 2 size 4 gimbal mounts. Now, as I say, every ship we've looked at before this has been size 2, with the 325A having 1 size 3 missile launcher. But the Hornet is sporting 2 size 4 gimbal, 2 size 1 pylon mounts, a size 2 unmanned turret, and a size 1 unmanned turret. Now, this ship brings combat to the next level, compared to the previous ships, which have had smaller weapons, of course. Now, as you can see, its pylons, its missiles, are a lot less than the other ships. However, its gimbaled mounts and its 2 unmanned turrets easily makes up for that. And that's including its size 4 shield, which is a size above every ship we've looked at prior to it. So this Hornet will be one of the absolute dogfight, as it's intended to be. I can't imagine it being great at intercepting, as its missile capabilities are fairly low. However, in a dogfight, there's few ships I'd rather have. I mean, it's got the best gimbals, it's got the best pylon, well, not the best pylon, unmanned turrets, and it's got an excellent shield. Okay, so I'm back. I just had a Skype call. I'm probably going to be editing some out, because I don't think I paused it properly. Anyway, I believe we just finished the Hornet. If we hadn't, I'm sorry. But I'm lazy, so I'm not going to go back and watch it. Anyway, on to the Avenger. Not one of my favourite designs, but definitely one of the best low-budget ships, or mid-budget ships, depending on how you look at it. Now, the Avenger has got a decent amount of cargo. I say decent amount of cargo because the default Avenger has got prisoner pods, and once those are taken out, I imagine there'll be more cargo. It's got 2 fixed mounts, a size 3 gimbal mount, 2 sets of missiles, so that's 4 size 3 missiles, a size 3 shield, and a bunch of prisoner transport pods. Now, it's got a size 4 engine at only 18,000 mass, which is the lowest mass of any ship with a size 4 engine. It's got very low maneuverability, and this is where the trade-off is, because it's got the same maneuverability as the 13,000 kilogram Mustang. So it's got a lot of primary thrust, but low maneuverability. So it's, I don't know, I imagine this would be good for strafing runs. And, however, in the spinning dogfight which currently exists in Arena Commander, the Avenger does have some issues, because it can't turn at the speeds of, say, the Hornet or the Mustang. It's got fixed mounts, which are, well, useful. It's got max size 2 for the fixed mount, so, you know, that's pretty good. You can hit pretty hard with that. Size 3 gimbal mount. Now, the Hornet has 2 size 4 gimbal mounts, but a size 3 gimbal mount is quite impressive, as the other ships in this weight range, which are probably the Mustang, the Gladius, and the 300s, don't have any size 3 weapons, so this is quite impressive. And it's got 2 size 3 pylon mounts, which again is quite good. I mean, those missiles will hit very hard, albeit there are a few of them. Size 3 shield, again, an improvement of the other ships in this weight range, which are the 325A, Gladius, and Mustang. Back, so that was the 3rd time in this video I've had to do that. Anyway, so as I was saying, it's got a large shield, large weapons, low maneuverability, large primary engines, decent power plant. It's got a decent amount of cargo, so this thing could be used as a hauler in... Well, there's a hauler variant, so it can be used as a hauler if you wanted to. Now, I would compare the other two, but, well, their stats aren't available here for some reason. So yeah, it's heavily armed. It's an all-round good ship, and I personally love it. As I say, downside maneuvering thrusters, so it won't be able to get in the dogfight with ships like the Hornet or the Mustang. albeit the Mustang's not really designed for a dogfight. It just doesn't have the turning capabilities. Strafing, this will be great at strafing and great at intercepting. Anyway, next ship. Then we have the Gladiator ship, so I presume one person to fly the ship and one person to operate the turret. It's got 2 missiles, 4 missiles size 3, and a size 5 bomb bay. Now, the bomb bay is what makes this ship so unique. It's because, well, it will be able to take on the larger capital ships. Well, not capital, but it will be able to take on the larger ships, and it will be able to probably bomb ground bases. It's supporting 2 size 2 gimbals and a size 2 man turret, size 3 shield, size 2 power plant. This is where my concern arises. Now, no other ship, to the best of my knowledge, in the game has a size 2 power plant and as much power consumption as the Gladiator. This beauty is running size 2 maneuvering thrusters, 2 size 4 primary engines, and a size 3 max shield, and only a size 2 power plant. Now, let's just go back to the Avenger, because that's the one we looked at most recently. The Avenger had a size 4 engine, however, a size 3 power plant. And this ship is running the same size shield, more maneuvering thrusters, and an additional engine, and it's got a decreased power plant. Now, I'm wondering how the ship's going to cope with that. In my eyes, what it means is that the ship will either be attacking or defending, because there's no way you can support all of these weapons and the shield and the thrusters. Now, I imagine this was designed to be so, because a ship with the bombs this one carries would not be an easy fight, especially if it could have its size 3 shield up all the time. But since it looks like its size 3 shield is too much for it to handle on this size 2 power plant along with its thrusters, it's going to be a complicated... 1 second, please. Okay, sorry, I just had to deal with another Skype call. Okay. So where was I? Oh yes. So it's got lots of armaments, large thrusters, low power plant, so it won't be maintaining. It's, I doubt it'll be maintaining anything really. The shields are very large, the primary engines are large, and the guns are large on this small power plant. Now, of course, stats are there to change. So, but unless we see an increased size in the power plant, this ship is going to be limited. I imagine that its primary use will be in bombing runs, as it's designed to be a bomber. It won't be great at intercepting. It won't be good in dogfights because of the lack of power. Its guns are acceptable, but not exceptional. And it primarily relies on missiles to get its job done. Next we have the Merlin, the P-52 Merlin, aka sporting 2 size 2 engines at only 6,000 mass, which is twice the thrust to mass ratio of the Mustangs, an incredible amount of maneuvering thrusters for such a low mass. Size 1 power point, little concerning, but since there's only a size, well, there's a size 2 shield, so that is a little concerning. Lots of thrust, small power plant, but of course the power plant will probably be able to handle it, as it's limited on weapons. And this is where my issue with the ship is. It's not everyone's issue, just my issue with the ship, because I always have an issue with only fixed mounts. Now, there's nothing, if you're good with fixed mounts, then this ship is great for you. It's got lots of maneuverability, lots of speed, a decent shield, and it's, well, the lowest kilogram fighter, and it's got a size 2 fixed weapon, and 2 size 1s. However, this ship's maneuverability can make it a tad hard to aim, and since it has only got the fixed mounts, and 2 of those fixed mounts being on the wingtip. Now, because they're on the wingtip, it means they don't fire exactly straight, they fire to the sides of the ship. So this ship will have an inherent issue with dealing with small fighters like the Mustang and the Avenger. However, it should be good at dealing with the larger fighters such as the Vanguard and the Hornet. Of course, its shields make it very weak. However, as the majority of the time this ship will be supporting another ship, it is, well, it's effective. So, my opinion of the ship is that this is a little damaged ship. It can do quite a bit of damage since it's sporting a loadout similar to the Mustang. However, it doesn't have the health to back up that damage. It's going to be able to avoid most fire, and it should be able to sustain its weapons if it lowers its shield. So all in all, I actually like the ship quite a lot. Next, the Khartu-al. Okay, so the Khartu-al, and as you may notice, I have gone over to the Star Citizen wiki. This is because the guns that are equipped to the Khartu-al are not listed on the Star Citizen stats page. This is probably because either A, they haven't been decided yet, or B, as always, the stats page hasn't been updated recently. So, we're looking at primary engines. 4 size 3 engines. This is absurd for a 15,000 kilogram ship. When you look at the Mustang at 2 size 2 engines at 13,000 kilograms, and the 300 series at 20,000 kilograms and 1 size 4 engine, you can clearly see this will be the top of the line when it comes to speed. It's also got excellent maneuvering thrusters at the same maneuvering thrusters as the Hornet, with about half the mass. Power plant? Size 4 power plant. This power plant will also be alien, so it'll be more effective than regular power plants, but again, size 4 power plant should easily be able to handle these specs. And not lastly, but it's got a size 4 shield, which is the same with the Hornet. So I imagine the ship will be able to handle itself quite easily in combat, being one of the most maneuverable ships in the game. Now, the weapons of course are unknown. However, we've had reference in the past of them being 2 class 1s and 4 class 2. So 2 fixed and 4 gimbaled. That's all we really know at this point. Now, since this ship is so maneuverable and has such a large shield, I imagine the guns will be quite small for balance purposes. This ship will be very maneuverable, very durable, but low damage. So if that is what you're interested in, then I recommend the Khartu-al. I went for the Khartu-al because I imagine it would be great as a all-purpose fighter. So it'll be able to dogfight, intercept, and disengage when required. The Warden. The Warden is one of the heaviest fighters in this game, and I mean both in terms of weight and in terms of guns. When we look at the Warden, we see a 45,000 kilogram ship with 2 tier 4 engines. This is about the same thrust to mass ratio as the Hornet. However, as the mass is a lot higher and the thrusters, although duplicate, are still size 4, I imagine it will be a bit slower. It's running size 2 maneuvering thrusters, which are 2 more than the Hornet, to the best of my knowledge, or 4 more than the Hornet. So it won't be as maneuverable as the Hornet or the Mustang, or, well, it'll probably be as maneuverable as the 300, but definitely not the Khartu-al. However, it will still be fairly maneuverable. 2 size 2 power plants. You see, this confuses me a little because I'm not sure what 2 size 2 power plants are equal to. Now, with the loadout this is running, I would hope that they're at least equal to a size 4 or possibly a size 5. But if these are only equal to a size 3 or, well, worse, then you're going to have power consumption issues. Because if you look, this ship has 6 shields. 6! Of course, I can't explain why the ship would have 6 shields. They're all size 2, but there are 6 shields. Now, I'm wondering how 2 size 2 power plants can run 2 size 4 engines and 6 shields. Of course, stats are always open to change, and it may increase or decrease at a later date. Weaponry. So this ship has 4 fixed size 2 weapons and 1 fixed size 5. Now, that loadout is absolutely insane. There are very, very few ships in the game which have size 5 weapons, and this thing will be able to tear apart basically anything. We're looking at unknown missile quantities of size 2. We don't know the max size, of course. A manned turret, always lovely. It's only a size 2 manned turret, so I'm not sure how useful it will be. And, well, that's actually it. So by looking at the stats, my concern is power consumption. Also, I must point out that if you're not using the manned turret, you have limited directional firepower with only the pylons. Since all of the weapons are fixed, you may have some issue with aiming. Now, the good news is that the size 5 weapon appears to be centered on the nose, which means you will ease... Well, all of the weapons actually appear to be centered on the nose. You can see them there and there. So it will be an easier ship to aim than some of the others, such as the Merlin, which have their weapons situated on the wings. So I say that the only fixed weapons is acceptable in this case. However, it may still be irritating. The turret, it is a size 2. Now, I always have this problem with size 2 and size 1 man turrets, because in my eyes, they're less effective than someone flying another ship to support you. Which means that you're going to be needing probably an NPC, since a size 2 turret is probably not worth another player's time, unless... Now, this ship has got quite a large interior, and it has got a large escape pod. So I imagine the ship being able to go quite long distance, here's a picture of the interior, without any issues, as it's designed to be a long distance fighter. Because of the only fixed weapons, I'd say the ship would be better at intercepting than actual dogfighting, because in dogfighting there's a lot of dodging going on, and it can be very hard to get accurate fire. So, you may have some issues in the dogfight. Of course, you do have the size 2 man turret, which you'll probably be able to swap out for a unmanned turret, which will be, well, most likely more effective, because you don't need another player to do it. So, this thing will be capable in dogfights, assuming you're using the manned turret or unmanned turret, depending on how it turns out. But yeah, so primary use, intercepting and tracking, I presume, because it can go such a long distance. Now, the Sabre is a new ship, a fairly new ship, and the shield size and the power plant size is currently unknown, which means we can't make accurate guesses. However, we do know that there will be 3 power plants and 4 shields, so we can presume the shields will be size 2 or, at max, size 3. Now, we're sporting 2 size 3 engines at 18,000 kilograms, not particularly fast, but not bad at all. I'm sorry, 1 second. Okay. So, then we're looking at these size 2 maneuvering thrusters. Same amount of thrust as the Hornet at a lower mass, so I imagine it'll be quite maneuverable. It's running 2 size 3 fixed guns, 2 size 3 gimbaled guns, 2 sets of pylon mount size 2, that is 6 missiles. So I imagine the ship being excellent in dogfighting and in intercepting. However, until we know the shield sizes and the power plant sizes, I can't get a more accurate interpretation. Since this is a military ship, we can presume the shields will be decent, but as I say, it's just presumption, so we'll have to leave this go. Anyway, that's basically it. This might have gotten a bit ranty towards the end, but I've been meaning to do this video for a while, where I'll discuss my opinions of the Star Citizen ships. This is Sabre 5934. Please check out my new channel, link in the description. Bye!